Spinning attacks, whether that be spinning back fists, spinning elbows, spinning wheel kicks, or spinning back kicks, it's safe to say that spinning attacks in MMA are frankly awesome. They require a level of skill, precision, timing, and athleticism that is very, very rarely seen in the sport. But how does one pull off these techniques, both from a mechanical standpoint and in the octagon? That's what we're going to be looking at today. How to set up and perform spinning attacks for MMA. So let's get into it. The most important thing to do when executing a spinning attack is to step across your own center line. So with traditional roundhouse kicks, low kicks, head kicks, basically just everything coming off of your rear side, you always want to take a little 45-degree step out to open up your hips. This applies to spinning attacks as well, particularly spinning kicks, except instead of stepping out, you want to step across the other way. This works whether you're southpaw or orthodox, it doesn't matter. You just have to step across so you can open up your hips to effectively turn over. Go ahead and just get in your fighting stance and try to do a spinning attack, like a spinning elbow, without stepping across. It's pretty difficult. Your body gets all twisted up because it physically can't go all the way around. That step is fundamentally what helps you execute that. Now, this step can be very, very subtle, right? It's sometimes really quite difficult to see in fights, but if you look at Corey Sandhagen versus Marlon Moraes, Rafael Fiziev versus Brad Riddell, Lando Venata versus John McDessie, you'll all see this, and even Jon Jones' spinning elbows, he'll often perform attacks that get him to step across, like a long cross, and he steps through, eventually leading to him stepping across that center line, and then landing that spinning elbow. It's really, really important to mechanically perfect the technique. And there's a few different ways you can make that step more disguised, or there's a lot of different ways you can implement that into your game, so that's what we're going to talk about now. Spinning attacks are large. They're wide attacks that can be seen coming from very far away most of the time, and it's often difficult to figure out how to set these things up, especially in terms of disguising the step and the movement as a whole. But there are several interesting ways you can disguise the step. So a universally good way to set up a spinning elbow, spinning back fist, or spinning kick in general, this applies to all of them, is because that step across comes from your lead leg, any attacks on that lead side will work really well at getting that step across, right? So if you throw a hook and you step with it, you step across with the hook to get more power in it, that acts as the step. So it then helps disguise the attack. Either, they move back and it sets up the distance better for maybe a longer attack, like a spinning back kick, or, they step side to side and it works for a spinning elbow better. This applies in a lot of different scenarios, right? A good example of this would be Corey Sandhagen versus Marlon Moraes. You'll see him, throw a couple spinning back fist with that same setup. You'll see him throw the spinning wheel kick with that setup. And even Mauricio Huffy versus Bobby Green, he'll use that setup, he'll throw the hook and then turn that into the spin. It allows continuous motion and it gets more momentum on the spin, making the attack more powerful. I think this works best for a spinning wheel kick, as it just allows you to get so much more momentum, but it can very much work on a spinning back fist as well. Now, for spinning elbows, there are a few different things because you do need to get quite a bit closer. One interesting thing I've seen Paul Felder do, and this applies in a Muay Thai context, and this applies with a back fist and an elbow, is if you cross-check, right? So, or if you just lift up your leg to check, right? You can either lift your leg out to check a kick, or you can lift your leg across. It's called a cross-check. And if you put your leg down across, that acts as the cross step, and it allows you to get that angle better on your opponent. He then uses that to turn it into a spinning back fist and get a brutal knockout. This works perfectly with elbows as well. The exact same technique applies. Now, Yuri Prohashka did something very interesting as well. He was just battering Reyes with elbows, hit him with a right elbow, stepped across, used the momentum of that attack to use that cross step, and then landing the elbow as Reyes was coming off of the fence, right? Just disguising the cross step with different attacks is very, very effective. And one of my favorite things to do is actually using that inside leg kick, right? If you don't retract the kick all the way and you leave it sort of a little further out after you throw it, it again acts as the step across, right? You see Corey Sandhagen throw a inside leg kick right before he knocks out Marlon Moraes, so he used it quite a bit during that fight. And John Makdessi versus Lando Venata. Lando Venata was constantly poking low, not just with the inside leg kick, but with just, low teeps with that front leg, and eventually lulled Makdessi into a pace, and he started circling, and then that immediately acted the cross step, and it was just so fluid. It was really, really beautiful to watch, and caught him dead to rights, honestly. Again, if you can get your opponent to start circling off of disguising those attacks, especially with like the leg kicks and the punches and everything, it's really, really good, because if you give up your back to your opponent when you do that cross step, they're naturally inclined to either move in or circle out, because you've created an opening for them to, use footwork, except they don't know that attack's coming, so it just all blends together quite perfectly. Now, Jon Jones uses his spinning elbows in a very, very unique way. He will bait people to stuff a takedown, right? He'll reach low, almost like jab, the lower stomach, the leg. He'll reach down low, he'll get his opponent to dip on the level, and Jon, because he's so long, he can really step through on it, step across, and then land that elbow, almost jarring their neck and getting their forehead. It's really, really painful thing, a very painful strike to take. But he sets it up from a very long range, and in a very unique way, blending in the takedown threat to land spinning attacks is not something you see often, but Jon Jones is a very unique fighter, aside from his acts outside of the cage. He also uses that step through cross, as I said before, to really exaggerate that step and really get a lot of power on it. Jon will also simply use the clinch and get his opponents focusing on the upper body to then disguise those little minute steps that it'll take to set up that elbow, and it's really quite effective. He'll pull his opponent's hands down, get in like a clinch situation, he'll hang over them, and he'll step across, let go of the hands, and smack them with the elbow. It's really, really, really awesome. So next time you guys are working on the heavy bag, or you're just doing some light play sparring, just flow and implement those kinds of techniques. Start setting them up, use combinations with hooks on the ends, start peppering inside low kicks, that sort of thing. Start encouraging using cross checks, and just slowly start blending those techniques in, especially in sparring. Just, again, go with the flow. Be careful, because spinning attacks are very powerful, but just get a flow for it. Do spinning back kicks to the body instead of the head. Just get the motion down, get the setup down, rather than the actual execution of the technique. Just set everything up. Really just play with it. Really get a feel for it, right? Practice makes perfect, especially with difficult techniques like this. It's just consistent repetition, and you'll eventually find your groove for what works in setting up the strikes that you like to use. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something new. I hope you guys can all play this in your own unique ways, and see you later.